Hey everyone, this is Jody Thomas, and welcome to the Dance of Surrender, where we are going to be talking about how to turn off your monkey mind, get more done, and flow effortlessly into your zone. I'm so excited to have today's guest with us, Shanta Gabrielle. I found out about Shanta on the Intuition to Income Summit, and just to give you a little bit of a background story about Shanta, she is an author, teacher, visionary, and a messenger for Archangel Raphael. Her mission is to bring inspiration to the world. For more than 25 years, she has been working with people around the world through her writings, private sessions, and classes to introduce the availability of the archangels to bring more grace and ease into daily life. In the late 80s, while going through major transitions in her personal and spiritual life, she was surprised by an extraordinary visit from Archangel Michael that ignited her journey with the archangels. In 1990, her visitation from Archangel Gabriel began a relationship that spawned 2 books, multiple tools for spiritual growth, and a variety of programs that she facilitates in person and online around the world. Along with teaching about the archangels, Shanta emphasizes the awakening power of light field technology to transform our lives on every level. She believes that every individual came to Earth during this time for a reason, and the angels not only want us to achieve our goals and intentions, they can help us do it more gracefully, which that part was actually what drew me to Shanta in the first place. And then also, as an elder in the new world we are creating, Shanta's gift is to assist people with raising their energy frequency and connecting with their hearts so that they can live a life that is healthier, happier, and more fulfilling. And just to share a little known tidbit about her, she says that her happiest spiritual practice is kirtan, which is a traditional Indian singing of God's name that is inspiring, empowering, uplifting, and rousing good fun. So Sunday, she said she just had a kirtan to bless her new house, which is the first one she's lived in by herself in 30 years. So, Shanta, I would totally agree. I absolutely love kirtan, and I think that has been crucial in me working on freeing my throat chakra as well.
It's a good thing to do.
Yes, it is. I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here. I feel honored that you asked me.
Well, so why don't you tell us what your impression is or how you see surrender in your life?
Well, surrender was one of the main words that was used when I lived in an ashram with my guru. This is back in the late 70s. And we were always told that no matter what was happening, that it was for our spiritual growth. And so no matter what it looked like, that we needed to surrender to God and Guru. And then that would allow us to be free to receive the gifts, the blessings, and the grace that was in the process. And what I've discovered since then is that surrender is a really scary word for most Westerners. They think they're going to lose themselves somehow, and what I discovered was it gave me an avenue to find myself.
Yeah, but I mean, were there a lot of growing pains in that? I mean, you said that that's for your spiritual growth. So, did you feel a lot of growing pains or resistance to that surrender in the beginning?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And at different days, in different ways, but definitely we all experience resistance to the process of surrender. And even now when I'm using it in a surprising way with my work, because as it's gotten bigger and busier, I have surrendered the process I'm going through, I've surrendered the whole of my work, all of my work, to my senior partner, which would be God in another name, and I surrender the whole thing to my senior partner and say, you take over. You show me what to do. You bring the right people, the right teachings, whatever it is that I need for my highest good and for the highest good of this work. I surrender it to you.
And so when
that is a constant practice. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So when you found that surrender, you said that surrender is scary because people think that they are going to lose themselves in that, but you found it gave you a way to find yourself. When you say that you created this connection with God, I mean, in that finding of yourself, was that also an awareness of the connection of yourself with the whole and then seeing your individual gifts or path within that?
Yes, it is. And the most important thing that's come from all of this work, and especially since Archangel Gabriel came into my life, that he has spoken constantly, right at the first especially, about the importance of alignment. And that's what I interpret from what you just said, is the importance of alignment, which brings us into union with the divine within ourselves. And the most important thing for me that we need to do in this time especially is to find that sense of union in ourselves. And so the alignment exercise that Archangel Gabriel gave to me is something I do every day, and I share it on my website and YouTube and wherever I am, because it feels like it consciously activates the channel, the core energy within us that is our spiritual channels, connects us to that, and then grounds it. And one of the things about this time that we're in is grounding this spiritual energy is amazingly important. And it's helping the grounding work that so many beings are doing, these light workers, these bearers of the light, heart-centered consciousness. These people, we're all bringing these incredible gifts to the planet right now, and the planet, the whole earth, is elevating in consciousness. And that's what's going to change. I know that there's going to be a point when the shift into the 100th monkey, or whatever you want to call it, mass awakening. I still hold that as a possibility, and it may. Right now, it's a beautiful process, and I see it everywhere. I'm so optimistic about this time that we're living in.
And so when you are saying that grounding is so important, is this why? Because many people, and I've heard, since I believe it was the 2012 equinox, that there's a more massive shift in consciousness. And so people are starting to become a little bit more in terms of light beings. And so that groundedness starts to be lost to some extent. Is that why you think that the grounding aspect is so important? Because we are starting to elevate our vibration, our consciousness. And so staying still grounded to Mother Earth kind of keeps our feet on the ground. Yes,
and it's been, we're receiving so much light. I really honor the trees, and they give us this incredible demonstration of photosynthesis. And it feels like that's our process too, as we are elevating into these. We've never had as much light pouring onto the earth and through our bodies as we have now. And it's a little disconcerting to our nervous system. So our physicality is the one that's having the most difficulty receiving and integrating this light. And so as you see a tree opening up the leaves to receive light, and then they draw the nourishment of that light all the way through the core of their the trunk of the tree and then down into the root system. And then the root system pulls in nourishment from the earth and then sends it right up the channels up into the leaves again. And so it's a beautiful process, and I think that that is very much what we are experiencing. And so this grounding piece becomes our ability to integrate into the physical body. And we are here to take our bodies with us into this level. People are calling it ascension. It certainly is divinity. It's creating divinity in the human form, and that has never been possible for so many people as it is now. In centuries past, maybe a few were capable of doing that, but now everyone is, and that has been since the shift in 2012. That's only been since 2012, and we are actively working in the fifth dimension now, and light is the key. That's the light field technology that we were talking about, and this came from the archangels to show us that we are creating with light now. And this fifth dimensional energetic feels almost like magic because we are holding these higher frequencies that allow us to create what is in our vibrational field. So it's really important that our vibrational field be as aligned and steady and harmonized with our highest consciousness.
Absolutely. And so I want to pick out a word that you mentioned and kind of weave that into the next question that I would like to move into. So you mentioned the word integration, or how to integrate. And so maybe you can speak a moment on kind of where surrender and this state of flow that people talk about, of us being more creative, more productive, kind of losing a little bit of awareness of ourselves, where those two converge and how integration actually plays into that.
That's a really interesting question. Well, surrender is, as we said, helping us align with our God self, our highest divinity. And so this integration process is what I call alignment with this divinity. And so the process that the archangels gave was to bring light through the top of the head and spark the consciousness there, allowing that wisdom to illuminate the third eye and then bring compassion and expansion into our throats, and then allowing the light to flow into our hearts, bringing more love. And love is one of the ingredients that is raising our consciousness now, and it's the most important aspect of all the work that we do in the world at this time, is to keep coming back into our hearts and aligning with love, and then bringing that energy of light and love through the solar plexus so there's more courage and more strength, and then bringing it through the second chakra so that there is a sense of unity and allowing creative solutions to open into our lives, and then grounding that, all of that, into the earth so that we have a really deep connection with the nurturing presence that is the earth at this time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, maybe now that was an amazing response, and I like how you tied the chakras in there, because I haven't spoken very much on the chakras thus far. Maybe you can just mention this state of flow that people get into, whether you think that this overwhelm that a lot of people feel these days. I mean, perhaps that has something to do with this not being grounded. I mean, when you spoke of not being grounded, it kind of made me think like, okay, so this overwhelm where we're constantly flitting from one activity to the next, and our to-do list keeps growing and growing, and we are constantly distracted, by Facebook and by phone calls and all of these different things that are kind of drawing our attention. I see that as kind of living a lot more higher in the body, like in the upper chakras. We're kind of floating around. And so, I mean, if you draw that energy down, as you just kind of described, through the chakras, do you think that that would actually help us to step back from the overwhelm and maybe be more capable of getting into this state of flow?
I do. I absolutely believe it is the key. And one of the ways that is easiest to do that is with our breath. Most of the time, as you described, when we're in overwhelm, we have this sense of anxiousness inside, and many people are having panic attacks and anxiety that they've never experienced before. And part of that is that when we are not breathing deeply, our bodies are not getting enough oxygen, and the signal that goes to our brain is that we're dying, and it's a simple lack of oxygen. So breathing very deeply, slowing down our breath, and grounding takes the overwhelm into the earth roots and allows us to spread more deeply, like a tree. If a great oak tree, the canopy of the leaves can only be as wide as the root system. And so this spreading of our root system and grounding allows us to have this large anchor to bring this higher consciousness and more energy through the body and teach the body to expand into it. Because when we get afraid, we contract. And when we get overwhelmed, we're contracted. And so we have to teach our bodies that it's safe to expand into these greater levels of love and success and abundance. And it's a process, and that's part of the surrender.
It's so interesting, this kind of dynamic between expansion and contraction, because as I was imagining, grounding and coming more down into the first chakra, I was imagining like that it's much more able to focus, and so thus the focus is a huge part of how you get into flow, is only focusing on one activity, having all of your energy completely 100% focused there. And so I was imagining kind of a contraction in that space, but it's so fascinating that as you're talking about this, that's actually an expansion at the same time. So you are focusing your attention on one thing. However, at that same time, you're opening up your overall consciousness maybe to receive more guidance from your higher self. And so there's like this play that I'm imagining of like, this pulsing kind of between expansion and contraction.
Yes. Exactly. It's really amazing. And so the key is coming back into our breath and coming back into alignment and grounding and surrendering the whole process over, because part of it is we think we have to do it all by ourselves, especially Westerners. This we've been taught. This is what we were taught to do. And it's not considered appropriate to ask for help, and we just need to do it all. And this is, I think, making us kind of crazy right now. And this thing with the chakras is really essential, and that was one of the gifts from Archangel Gabriel, is that as we align our chakra system, this is an ancient teaching. This is like thousands and thousands of years old, and that is coming from India and these Eastern cultures who have studied this and ways of bringing more happiness and more productivity and more enlightenment into the lives of people for thousands of years. This has transformed people's lives. And so it's a very interesting idea now that so many people are familiar with yoga. That the Western culture has been exposed to yoga, but it's only grown in this last 25 or 30 years. The popularity, people are very aware of the physical aspects of Hatha yoga, which also calms the mind and allows this alignment with Source to happen. And my guru taught us that when we were doing Hatha yoga, that was so that we would be able to sit in meditation longer or in more comfortably. And so once again, this alignment of the physical body that allows a greater level of consciousness to come through and then being anchored onto the earth.
Absolutely. So how do you personally find this balance between being and doing, or between expansion and contraction, or between grounding and connecting?
As you said, it's a dance of surrender. It's a moment-to-moment thing, and that's why staying present and staying focused in this present time is really essential. The masters of all the ages have been saying present time, be in the now. And this is where our consciousness is able to unite with the divine. And so it's a moment-to-moment, bringing us back. I always heard that when a rocket was going to the moon, that it was a constant aligning. It didn't just go from here to there straight, but they were always tweaking and bringing it back. And that's what we're doing with ourselves. We keep bringing ourselves back into alignment with Source, and that allows this integration of higher energy frequencies in our bodies.
So do you have any techniques or tools that you maybe could share with listeners about how to tweak, how to get into this capability of this constant tweaking of being conscious and being able to say, like, okay, I'm kind of out of alignment right now. Like, what can I do on an individual level that will help to bring me back into alignment? Because, everybody has kind of a very different path to get there.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to share my path. And
please.
Yeah, demonstration that I gave you of the alignment is actually a alignment exercise that Archangel Gabriel gave to me. I'd be happy to give that to you so that you could share that with the people who are listening. So that's absolutely one way. Breath, as we said, has been really essential. And even if we just stop several times a day, it's 5 times a day. If we stop and deepen our breath and just take 3 really deep breaths, we actually will see the world a lot differently. And perhaps that would be a good time when we're taking these deep breaths to surrender whatever is going on to the higher power, and show us what to do, bring in the guidance. And that is actively telling your higher self that you're open to receive a higher level of awareness in the moment when you're really struggling.
So how are we giving on a daily basis, people who have not quite found this alignment maybe? In what ways do we give the signal to our higher self or the universe that we are not open to receive? Maybe it's a good thing to just become aware, first of all, for people who have not gone through this process, so that they can become aware of how we send that message that we're not open to receive.
when we are breathing very shallowly in the upper chest, when we're feeling confused and frantic, that is a signal that we're not open to receive. And so go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, so then so it's a signal to ourselves. Oh, I'm feeling so confused right now. I just don't know what to do. I'm so frantic. I need to breathe. Okay, I'm just going to stop. I do have time, even though it doesn't feel like I have time to slow down and breathe. I've heard that that's the way I can get into alignment, so I am just going to come right back. And sometimes it's just putting your hands on your heart and breathing into the heart is the fastest way of coming back into alignment. HeartMath, which is an organization of scientists, a nonprofit that I fully support and am amazed by, they have proven scientifically that putting your hands on their heart and breathing love into your heart will actually change your consciousness. It's the fastest way of doing that, and they call it the quick coherence technique. And so that alone will take the energy out of the head and bring it into the heart. And then I always like to then bring my attention to my base chakra, right at the sacrum, right at the root chakra, and then put that root system down into the earth and breathe in the consciousness of the earth, which is so nourishing for us. If we can go hug a tree, that'll do it. That's really a very valuable way of doing that. It's a form of surrender that a lot of people resist, but it's so easy. It's so easy. Yes. So, and things like Hatha yoga and Tai Chi, they've been used for thousands of years to still our minds and integrate the high frequencies of energy into our physical form. And so using tried and true ancient methods has been one of the ways that has made it easier for me to function in this new time.
So maybe you can tell us if you believe it's possible to control when and how often you enter into this state of flow. Do you think it's possible to be in that state all the time, or what takes us into or out of that state at any given moment?
What did you say? What takes us out of that given state at any moment? I'm sorry. Could you just that last part that you said? What takes us into the flow? I think is easier actually to talk about, which is what we've been saying. What takes us into the flow is our focus of attention. And I believe that our intentions are very powerful right now. We can intend to stay in alignment, and we will get a little nudge from the universe that when we are out of that flow. And when we are in alignment, we are in a beautiful flow. I like to even imagine that it's like I call it the river of all creation. This flow of divine light and divine love that is available to us all the time. Divine light carries the intelligence of God, and it carries divine love as well. And so just the simple awareness of bringing our attention to the light and having the intention to stay in alignment with our higher selves all the time, no matter what, then we get easy, graceful nudges. When we allow ourselves to get way out of alignment with this river, this flow of divine creation, then we start getting more and more intense nudges. I heard it said that you can get it with a feather, you can get it with a hammer, or you can get it with a Mack truck, and that's up to us, and so it has absolutely everything to do with our awareness and our focus and our alignment with what is true for us and our higher selves. Our higher selves act as this filter for our soul, because the higher self holds the soul's purpose. And so the higher self knows what it is that we most need, what guidance, what angels, what masters, where we're living, what we are doing. The higher self really, for me, holds a great key. And so my intention to be in alignment with my higher self at all times is what this creates, this field of light that allows me to be aware when I am out of alignment, and aware quickly before the Mack truck comes along.
Yes, it's so fascinating that you put it like that. So this morning I've been just feeling very much out of flow, and I was just I've become very conscious of when I am or am not in flow, especially since I've been, researching and talking to people about this topic, and I was just feeling like nothing that I was trying to do was in flow, and so I just said, okay, forget this. I'm going to make a new daily plan. And so I just scratched off most of the things that I was going to do today and said, okay, I'm just going to go have lunch with friends and go, walk around and visit people later this afternoon instead of everything else I had on my list, because it just didn't seem to be working out. And now I feel a little bit more relaxed about the whole thing, but it's fascinating, the three different levels that you said, because I think for a lot of people that Mack truck is their health. I mean, this is an experience that I had. I was definitely just not listening for many, many years, and I eventually got a very serious digestive illness that I still don't know what it was, and I actually prefer not to put a label on it, because I think that was a big part of why it arose. And once I finally changed the direction of my life, it just kind of has gone away on its own without me necessarily doing differently, eating things differently, after I had already tried all those things. So I think that if we can, in this talk, kind of gently, subtly push people towards listening in a little bit more intimately to their higher selves, maybe they won't have to feel that Mack truck.
Well, absolutely. And interesting, the digestion has been because we're having difficulty digesting all this energy. And so finding ways, so that's where the grounding and the expansion comes in. The digestion is one of the very first places that affects us. For me, I thought I was listening, but I was so off track that it took, in 1 year, my business went into bankruptcy. I lost my home. I got a divorce. I went into menopause, and my appendix burst. And that was all
my goodness.
1 year.
That was a whole line of Mack truck.
That was a very big wake-up call from the universe, and so
wow.
Absolutely, loss is one of the, and illness and all of those things are one of the ways that the universe gets our attention, and it can be an enormous gift if we can just expand our consciousness enough to see it that way and I surrender to this is really looks so bad and it feels so horrible, and I don't see it, but I surrender this all to this higher power. I ask for the grace. Let me see the grace. Help me to receive the love that is here in this amazing, awful time that I'm experiencing. That is like an ultimate surrender. It's huge. And so coming back into our hearts and just moment to moment surrendering to the grace that's in that. Ram Dass calls it fierce grace. And he was talking about he had a stroke, and Ram Dass has been one of my major teachers in this life. So this has been a real amazing process of surrendering to a very new time and a very new energy. And the chakra system is actually a real key for me. And that was what, my guru taught, and then Archangel Gabriel comes and says the same thing. And so now I'm teaching what I call the 7 Keys to Awakening. It's a 7-week series that is oriented to alignment of this energy system that's been used for thousands of years to bring people into harmony with themselves and transform their lives.
Yeah. And maybe just thank you so much for sharing that. And just to kind of wrap up a little bit, maybe you can talk for a moment about energy. And when I refer to energy, we have a lot of different ways to refer to energy, I guess, in this field that we both are in. But in this moment, when I refer to energy, I refer to like when people feel like they have low energy, like they don't have enough energy to do everything that they think that they should do or that they want to do in a day. Do you think that grounding and also being able to get yourself into a flow will actually help conserve energy and allow you to have a lot more energy?
Absolutely, I do. I absolutely, we so much believe that when we are, this idea that's coming up to me, one time I heard a Unity minister say that illness is I lack love, ill. And so we have available to us this infinite flow of divine, abundant creation, and it comes in the form of light energy. It's that we can attune ourselves and open ourselves to receive. And so whenever we feel low in energy, being grounded is essential, but we have to stop. And that's one of the things when people feel like they have so much to do, it's very difficult to stop. But that is required. And that's why I really love that quick coherence technique of bringing your attention back into the heart. So I bring my attention back into my heart. I call on the light from the highest source there is. I ask this light to flow through my higher self, bringing as much energy as I need to be effective in my work and loving with myself. I ask this flow of light to come through me, bringing my wisdom and guidance and illuminating my mind and allowing a free expression of truth and creativity through me, bringing this light all the way back into my heart again, allowing this light to flow through my solar plexus, feeding me with the nourishment that I need to be whole and have the courage to live in a new time with a new way of being. Bringing this light through into my second chakra and allowing divine union within myself of God's oneness, this oneness with the divine in me that opens creative solutions in every area of my life. And I call on creative solutions in those areas where it seems that there is no hope and it's so discouraging. I call on creative solutions, the light of that field to enter into my life right now. And I ground that light into the earth and ask that the nourishment of the earth feed me. And I stay in this state of expanded light and love and allow that to feed me now. Bring all the energy that I need. If every breath I take, may I receive all the energy that I need to be in harmony with my highest good this time, and may all beings receive all that they need right now. And so it is.
I love that. And I love how I had actually heard of the heart math technique and done it myself very frequently. I really feel like it makes a huge difference if I'm feeling very overwhelmed to bring my hands onto my heart and just close my eyes and take a couple breaths. But I love how you added the part of then thereafter, or while you have your heart on your hand on your heart and are breathing, to actually then focus on your root chakra. That kind of brings the two things together that we've been speaking of like living out of your heart, but also grounding down into your root system so that you can conserve your energy.
Yes, and that you expand into receiving more energy. Our root chakra has been they talk about as survival. But now, in this new time, since 2012, in this new fifth dimensional energy frequency, we actually are grounding well-being through the root chakra. So that whole expanded sense of well-being in the root chakra anchors the nourishment of the earth and the love of the heart and the guidance from the divine in our bodies. And when we have well-being in our bodies, we have well-being in every area of our lives. Excuse me, if we think about it, if we had well-being in every area of our lives, no matter what it was, relationships, finances, work, everything, it would make our life so much happier, so much more graceful. Right?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Shanta, for bringing all of this together and bringing the idea of the chakras into this and giving us a very new way to look at them. I think that people are going to get a lot of inspiration from that.
Good. Well, it's just my delight. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, go. Maybe you can just mention again. You already mentioned a little bit earlier the free gift of the meditation on the Archangel that you're going to offer.
Yes. Well, speaking of the heart, Archangel Raphael is the archangel that holds the frequencies of the heart. He is considered to be although many people see Raphael and Gabriel as a feminine presence, and I see them as a masculine presence, but there's no gender in an archangel. This is an expanded being. So Archangel Raphael is the archangel that is working with all of us to expand our hearts, to bring more love and healing. This is he is the angel that commands legions of healing energies to bring those angels of healing into our lives for all levels. And so this meditation will help to give you a personal experience of Archangel Raphael working in the heart.
Thank you so much. And then maybe you can just, so for all the listeners, the link for that free gift is right in the email where you clicked on to hear this interview. So you can go right in there and whenever you have time or a quiet moment, do that meditation. And then, Shanta, maybe you can just mention real quick your website in case anyone wants to go and get more information.
Right. It's shantagabriel.com. And so, and you'll see the spelling, so it's just that, shantagabriel.com, and there are, the alignment exercise will be there, and the meditation will be there. And this meditation is half an hour, it's 30 minutes of a guided me speaking, channeling the Archangel Raphael, and then 30 minutes of music from Sanea Roman that has been energized with beautiful, light-filled, love-stimulating presence. It's very high-frequency energy, and this definitely raises your vibrational frequency so you can live in well-being.
Wow, well, I'm really excited to go check out that meditation myself. Well, thank you so much, Shanta. We will be in touch, and thank you to all of our listeners for being here with us and listening in on all the chakras and all the inspirations and insights that Shanta shared with us today.
Thank you so much, Jody. It's just been a total delight to share with you and to bring the gifts of the archangels into daily life.
Thank you, Shanta. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Namaste.
Bye-bye.